Hi, everybody. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the concept of camp. By camp, I don't mean the place you go in the summer with the tents. That's obviously called camp, but that's not the kind of camp I'm talking about. I'm talking about an artistic aesthetic. So camp is a mode or a style. It's an approach. I wouldn't call it a genre because any genre can be campy. There can be campy romances, campy action adventures, campy horror.
Greetings! They call me the cow because I love to.
Hey, Count!
Did someone say horror? One horror!
Yeah, I'm the one that said horror, me.
Two horror!
Yeah, that's not gonna work on me. Sorry, Count. So today I'm teaching my students about the stylistic aesthetic known as camp. Do you want to help with that?
Yes! I've been counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
No, not camping. No. Camp. It's an idea that was codified by Susan Sontag in an essay published in 1964 in the Partisan Review, later included in her book Against Interpretation.
It's not a place out in the middle of the woods where I can train my victims. I mean, my volunteers. One disappointment! Well, if it isn't woods and tents, then what is camp?
Actually, that's a great question, Count Dracula. Allow me to explain. According to Sontag, camp, quote, is a vision of the world in terms of style. It is a stylistic approach that can be applied to anything, but it's especially been relevant to fashion, to art, to film and television, and performance in general. It's a performance mode in some ways. Camp harkens back to Baroque and Rococo styles, including the famous French courts of extravagance in the 18th century. But camp also harkens back and becomes central to the aesthetic of gay culture, especially drag culture in the mid-20th century, through now into the 21st century. Now it's fairly common throughout popular culture.
One question!
Sure.
If camp is a style, then what is the style exactly?
Great question, Count. One important trait in the camp aesthetic is exaggeration. So Baroque and Rococo styles are heavily exaggerated and embellished, as is drag. Drag is an exaggerated representation of femininity, occasionally masculinity, but most often femininity.
That lamp doesn't look very exaggerated to me. It's just an average lamp. Like one madame in a guest tower or something. One average lamp.
A guest tower? That sounds a little exaggerated to me.
What are you talking about? My castle is completely understated. One misrepresentation of me.
Sure, Count Dracula. Just like your look is understated too, right?
What are you talking about? My look is timeless and elegant. It's not a bit extra. Two misrepresentations of me.
Another aspect of camp is excessive drama and theatricality. So it's got a strong element, as I mentioned before, of performance. In a verb form, camping or to camp is a way of seducing one's audience, of using double entendres and elements of performance to draw the audience in. This is what drag does. Drag performers are often using puns. In particular, their names are often puns or double entendres in the form of puns.
I can't imagine anyone needing so much excessive drama and theatricality. I mean, who would be so very extra all the time? I myself am quite understated. Quite a contemplative man. I am the strong, the silent.
Right. Sure, Count. That's totally you.
No?
Oh my goodness. Count.
One, strong man.
So, so Sontag says that to understand camp is to, quote, understand being as playing a role. So existence itself as playing a role. So in other words, camp is an acknowledgement that we are all performing for others at all times to a certain extent, whether we're performing our gender or our sexuality or our cultural heritage or our political position or our religion or whatever it is. Camp is like Santa Claus winking at you and pulling down his fake beard, or a drag queen pulling off the wig to reveal a bald head. Camp is an awareness of the constructedness of things, of the way in which things are always filtered through a cultural performative lens.
Oh, you expect me to run around screaming, I want to suck your blood all the time, right? That.
Yeah, a little bit, yes, yeah. But more like you doing that while also making fun of yourself for doing that at the same time.
How very meta. One self-referential joke.
Yes, actually, camp is very meta. At least deliberate camp is meta. There is also naive camp, which we'll get to in just a minute. So another trait of camp is that it's comical. So camp wants to dethrone the serious.
Wait. That reminds me of something that we used to do back when I was a wee little vampire boy. Just draining my very first victims. We'd have a big party. We'd dance around and we'd dress up in wild costumes. We would eat and we would drink and we would be merry all the day. What did we call it? If only I could remember.
Did you call it carnival?
Yes, that's it. Oh, right answer.
Did one of your fangs just fall out? Oh, okay. All right. Camp is in the same lineage as festive laughter and the carnivalesque, which seeks to degrade the high authority, the seriousness of authority figures, to take them down and reveal how silly they are. Good observation, Count. One good observation.
Well, I am very smart after all.
That's right, you are.
Yes.
Camp's exaggeration of life is a form of critique. A critique of all the serious things in life, like religion, politics, love, and so on. It's a way of critiquing and resisting the culture it comes out of, while also celebrating that resistance. For example, drag is a critique of the idea of binary gender on some level. If someone that society perceives to be male can convincingly be female, then that destabilizes the idea of natural or biological gender determinism. It challenges the idea that that's the only way it can be. If somebody who's perceived to be male can be female, then maybe things aren't as black and white as we perceive them to be or would like them to be, or as we construct them as. All right, one thing that's a little bit tricky to explain about camp is that there are two types of camp, according to Sontag: naive camp and deliberate camp. So, according to Sontag, quote, camp which knows itself to be camp is usually less satisfying. So, I don't know if I agree with her about this last statement, but
Oh, yes, I agree with her.
oh, you do?
It's so terrible when someone is trying so hard to get a laugh, dressing up in funny clothes and makeup and pretending to be someone that isn't even their gender. All to entertain someone else. I pity anyone who would do such a thing as this. I would never degrade myself in such a way as that. It's completely beneath me. I am one serious, classy fellow. Ha ha ha!
I'm so glad to hear that, Count. So, I enjoy deliberate camp. I like drag shows, for example, and cosplay, which is also deliberate camp. Sontag, however, prefers naive or innocent camp or genuine camp, something that tries to be serious and fails, such as early Batman or Dragnet. But more and more often, we see examples of deliberate camp, such as in the works of folks like the original camper John Waters, who did things like Hairspray, Crybaby, or the more recent iteration, Ryan Murphy's work. His work often features a lot of elements of camp. Right, the final element is that camp is adaptive. Camp is constantly evolving and changing to keep up with the contemporary world. It's ironic and self-referential and meta. The Met Gala used camp as the theme in 2019. So the idea got a little bit of coverage then, and I've actually a little brief article for you to read that came from about that time as well in the next little bit of this lesson. But
well, I think I understand what you mean by camp, but I do not understand what it has to do with me. I am just a simple vampire man who likes to count my victims. One drained human, two drained humans, three drained humans.
I have no idea why I thought that would be relevant to you, Count. You certainly aren't exaggerated or comical or, I don't know, attempting to be serious and failing.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that I am myself a representation of Count?
Oh boy. Whoa, what?
Back!
Whoa, what are you doing here in my study? No.
Oh
Oh my god! Ah!